This week on the Computer Chronicles, the Doc in a Box, healthcare on your computer. We'll show you the Home Medical Advisor, a nifty CD-ROM that can help you manage your health. We'll show you how surgeons are using computers to do virtual operations. We'll help you stay in shape with the Active Trainer, and we'll show you how to stay on that diet with a program called Lighten Up. Also a new high-tech system for monitoring your heart rate, plus a website that puts the focus on health, not illness. And my pick of the week, a fascinating software program that you probably already have but never looked at. It's all coming up next on the Computer Chronicles.
Computer Chronicles is made possible in part by SoftSource Incorporated, publishers of Pro1's Mathematics Tutor in a Box for school year 98-99, including 6 CDs and workbooks. And by Z Auction, the live online shopping experience. Additional funding from PC Connection and Mac Connection, the catalog and online superstore with PC and Mac products, toll-free technical support and overnight delivery. And by Windows Magazine, delivering desktop, enterprise, and internet computing news, reviews, features, and how-tos for a Windows world, because the world runs on Windows.
Hi, and welcome to the Computer Chronicles. I'm Stewart Cheifet. If anything ever went wrong in my family, my grandmother would always say to me, as long as you have your health. Well, as we get older, we realize how right she was. Staying healthy, being slim, staying in good physical shape, eating well have become a big business, in fact. But with computers, we can now take personal control over many of these aspects of health that once depended on others. A good example is a CD-ROM called the Home Medical Advisor, Craig, and that's what we have up on the PC here. What can I do with this? What kind of medical advice can I get?
Home Medical Advisor allows you to keep track of your medical history for you and for your family, but it also allows you to diagnose symptoms, illnesses that you or your children may have. It's a diagnostic tool that...
All right, let's go through and see how this would actually work. I'm the patient, and you're going to run the computer for me here.
Certainly.
Let's say somebody in the family is suffering from some symptoms, and I'm trying to figure, is this serious enough to go to the doctor, or can I, treat it at the drugstore? So can I give you some symptoms?
Absolutely.
All right, chills, dizziness, and fainting. They're the 3 things I see, and I want to know, how serious could this be, or what could the reasons be for this?
All right, this module here allows us to do that. We'll go ahead and the symptoms.
So you put in those 3 symptoms and say analyze?
We'll analyze, and basically it'll prioritize which ones seem to be the best match.
So maybe you're just suffering from dehydration, or it could be something called orthostatic hypotension, which I don't know what it is. I assume there's a hot link and I can click to get a definition of that.
Give you a clear definition here.
Okay.
It also gives you the cause, and actually will give you treatments for that.
All right, let's go to something a little more complicated where I need the help from the doctor who sits inside here, okay? A common example is somebody gets chest pain at home, and is it indigestion, or am I having a heart attack?
Okay.
And do I rush to the hospital, or do I take some Pepto?
Okay, we'll go ahead and bring chest pain up. Basically, a list of symptoms here. We'll say what are some possible causes.
Okay, so it could be serious, could be not so serious.
Correct.
All right, so I don't know what the cause is.
We'll do a diagnosis then with a video doctor.
Okay. So I got some doctors really come on this. Okay.
Have you sustained a fall or recently?
No.
Okay.
Basically, ask you questions based upon your answers.
Do you have a history for angina or prior heart attack?
No.
Okay.
No.
Is the pain worse when you breathe in?
No.
No.
Would you describe your chest pain as steady, crushing, or heavy and associated with any one or more of the following?
Let's say yes. I'm not
Yes.
sure, but for a moment we'll say yes.
All right.
Do any one of the following apply to you?
All right. Yes, I'm a
You're on
male over
kidney-
37,
Yes.
so
Okay.
we would say yes.
Possible diagnosis.
So basically, after all the questions that you answered, it'll come up with the detailed
Okay, saying this could be serious.
diagnosis.
I mean, this could be a heart attack situation.
Certainly.
And what do I do next?
One of the things is that depending on the severity of the diagnosis, we can go ahead and go to a disease file that will actually tell us what the treatment would be and the common causes.
So this would be useful to say, hey, treat this seriously, you better go see a doctor.
Certainly.
All right, let me ask you another thing that's interesting, I know you can do with the software, is talk about drugs. Because sometimes if you're on a prescription drug and then you want to take some other over-the-counter drug, you're not sure whether you should or not.
Certainly.
How would I do this? Say somebody in my family's on penicillin, but they've got a cold and they want to go take some cold tablet from the drugstore, and I say, geez, I don't know whether it's safe to do that or not.
Okay. Well, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and highlight both those: the 12-hour cold medicine, penicillin, and we'll have the
What happens if I
doctor
put
analyze
both
it.
of those in my body at the same time?
Certainly.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
So that's actually okay. But what you can do too is here. If there are any substances that you take in during the day, it will actually look for.
All right, it's very interesting. Home medical advisor. Thank you. All right, well, computers are being used for more than just helping individuals keep track of their health. Surgeons are now using the power of 3D computer-generated environments to perform virtual surgery prior to doing the real thing.
At the NASA Ames Research Center in Mountain View, California, the power of virtual reality is being applied to simulations of the human body. The Biocomputation Laboratory at Ames has developed a virtual environment surgery workbench, and it promises to change the way surgeons are trained and how they operate.
And here we're trying to develop for surgeons a virtual environment within which they can practice surgery as residents or plan surgery as the surgeons who will be going in to operate on a patient perhaps the next day. So they can run through the experiment in virtual environment before actually going in and working on the patient.
To participate in a virtual operation, surgeons would stand at an immersive workbench on which they view projected computer images through 3D goggles. The interactive images are produced by a Silicon Graphics workstation from actual patient data. Still in development are the virtual tools that surgeons will use to interact with the images. NASA hopes to create an environment so real that surgeons can practice their operations in detail.
A novice can work with this large image, and then as the person becomes more capable, let's say a resident looking at a particular surgical procedure, you can reduce the size of the image. So that's what makes it valuable in my eyes, is that one can start with a very large image that you can interact with, and as you become more capable, you can reduce it down to a size that is more in keeping with the actual subject.
The near realism of the immersive workbench does not, of course, take the place of reality. But for teaching, it doesn't need to. And to plan a real operation, the workbench images are based in reality.
In other words, if you have a patient who's going in for an operation and you want to plan that operation before the surgery, then you need an exact clone of the patient. Then you will use imagery that was gathered by different high-end scanning devices, MRI and CT scans, X-rays. You'll use all that to build your model of your patient that maps the patient one-to-one.
For example, when the surgeons first saw our 3D images of the baby face and skull that you did capture, they were just amazed. The surgeons would come and they'd actually try to put their hands into the skull as they were looking at it with the glasses. And of course, they hit the tabletop. But they were actually trying to reach in there. There was such depth.
For the Computer Chronicles, I'm Sarah O'Brien.
Well, bottom line, staying in good shape involves exercise and diet. We're going to focus on the diet part first and take a look at one program called Lighten Up. And let me ask you about this. This helps me, keep track of my nutrition, my diet, make sure I don't gain weight, control my calories and my fats and stuff like that.
Right. You know, you are what you eat. And what Lighten Up is, it helps you personalize keeping track of your food and your diet. There are many programs that give you information about food and nutrition, but Lighten Up helps you actually learn about yourself. It lets you personalize your diet.
All right, so I put in a profile of who I am and how much I weigh and all the rest of that information about me. So it's dealing with me particularly.
It's dealing with you. And what we do is we tell people the minute they start with Lighten Up, they go right to the interview. And in the interview, we let you not only learn about your foods, but you go through a series of questions. It gives you your profile. It tells you what your blood pressure are. It gives you all kinds of information that you put in the information and it gives back information.
All right, so it's going to customize a good diet for me in particular, not some generic person.
It's not just a generic person. This person here, this actually was me, I have a 16% chance of a heart attack. So that tells me I better watch my diet.
Pay attention,
and so I started using Lighten Up, and I've had to lose 15 pounds, and I lost it. So.
All right, now, is there sort of a summary you get after you do all this and say, hey, these ought to be your goals, you ought to try to reduce this or get more of that?
Yeah, you go through this process, and it tells you, you decide Do I want to lose weight? Do I want to lose 5 pounds? How many calories do I want?
And it'll help me figure out how to do that.
It'll set the schedule for you. So it asks you, and after it sets the schedule for you, you immediately go back to our home screen, which is our central navigation point, and it gives you the Smart Health Calendar.
All right, let's go in now and say, all right, I kept track of everything I ate yesterday, and I want to know, am I doing a good job or a bad job? So can we pull that screen up?
Yeah, right in the Smart Health Calendar, we keep track of all your foods. Here it is.
So I had entered all this stuff.
You entered, it's a drag and drop, you entered all this information, and on this particular day...
we look at the bottom and we see I didn't do so good. I had, my actual calories was more than I should have.
Oh, you had a bad day here.
My carbohydrates, way more than I should have had.
And your saturated fats, were okay, but...
And not enough protein.
And you had not enough... This was a day which
Sounds like a typical day.
Typical day, but you set your targets and you didn't meet your targets.
Now, what do I do with that information? Say, well, what was wrong with that diet? What should I alter?
Well, what we do is we let you go in and say, now that you've entered this information, and since our program is all in C++, it's all object-oriented, these are all linked together. So we're able to link this information, and it tells you that here, on that day, well, in calories...
The culprit on the calorie side was the spaghetti.
1,389 calories on the spaghetti. So if you were really careful of your calories...
If the issue is calories, don't eat so much spaghetti.
Well, just have smaller portions. But
all right, what about some of the other issues?
But if your issue isn't just calories, if your issue is saturated fats...
It was the manicotti.
Don't eat the cheese manicotti.
Right.
It's not the spaghetti. The spaghetti wasn't the problem with saturated fats. Now you go to cholesterol, well, it's the barbecue chicken. So you can see the change in your diet isn't necessarily saying I'm not going to eat anything. It's not I'm going to change all my diets. People tend to eat the same 100, 200 foods. And if you just change 10% of them, if you don't have as much barbecue chicken, you don't have as much spaghetti, and you stay away from the cheese manicotti, you'll find that you'll be able to meet those goals.
Frank, is very cool. Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right, well, so Lighten Up can help you manage your diet and your nutrition. What about the exercise part? Well, maybe Madonna can afford her own personal trainer. Most of us can't. For us, it's going to have to be a piece of software, and you've got one here, which is called Active Trainer. Same idea here. Do I go and actually tell it who I am first? Is that the deal?
Yes, you do. What we do is to take a fitness test for you, and it's self-directed. We did this with you earlier today, and we put the information here.
So you've got a profile of me in here already?
Correct, and the system, a personal trainer inside, actually went through and gave a complete assessment of your current level of fitness. We found out your weight, your current level of body fat, which is very good, and your blood cholesterol, blood pressure, resting heart rate, and so on are fine.
So is it telling me what I ought to be doing now to stay healthy or get healthier?
The main area of your health concern right now is that from a cardio standpoint, you're relatively weak. All other areas, you're fine. So the program goes through.
Work on the cardiovascular, heart pumping kind of stuff.
Correct. That's what's going to, it's going to prioritize that as your first objective.
All right, so how do I do that?
And second would be your strength measures. Well, when you come back, it's a typical gym, and you're going to go to the aerobic studio, which is where we do cardio.
Okay.
And it sets up your cardio program. In this particular segment, it sets up a weekly schedule for you to get started. And the idea is that we want to not only reduce your resting heart rate, but we want to reduce your working heart rate. And it suggests that you start things like hiking, cycling, walking 3 times a week for 30 minutes.
So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I ought to spend 30 minutes a day doing one of those exercises.
And it gives you a target heart rate for now. All right. Now, you can alter and change these exercises, but the important thing with cardio is that you want to be in this target range. The activity isn't as important.
So it tells me if I do those things, that's the goal for my heart rate, that's how many calories I'll burn, etc.
Correct, correct. Now, you can go to the heart rate guide to find out why this is specifically important for you. Here, it puts your age, your resting heart rate, and the intensity level here. It's calculated your target heart rate for fat burning range between 115 and 137.
So I want to work hard enough to make sure I get that heart rate up to 115 or more.
Correct. And for conditioning, you have to be a little bit higher than that, and that's going to take some time to do that. Once you have your cardiovascular health in order, then it's going to be asking you to go into the weight room.
So let's do the strength part next.
Correct, because that's another aspect of your health. You can't ignore one for the other. And in here,
so it's going to give me a similar kind of program to follow?
Absolutely, and you can print out these pages and take them to the gym, or you can follow certain things at home.
So does this assume I have a gym to go to and I'm going to go to some place that has all this equipment in it?
Our first assumption is that you have a gym to go to. The second assumption is you probably have some home equipment if you don't.
All right, so suppose I am going to go to a gym. Does it tell me what exercises to do and how to do them and so on?
Here is a 2-day program, highlighted, and these are the different exercises that, again, you can
What does
print
that
out.
mean, 2-day program?
It means that you're going to do different exercises
One
on
day,
different
one
days.
thing, next day, different
Correct,
thing. Okay.
correct. So you don't focus on, you can't be in the gym forever.
Got it right.
The idea is you want to get everything done within an hour.
Okay.
Here is the exercises that it's suggesting you to do, and it gives you demonstrations of each one, along with the body part being worked. All right. The important thing here is that you have to learn how to do the exercise properly in order not to hurt yourself, and also get the benefit of the exercise.
All right, now, normal guy, I may not go to the gym and lift those huge things like that guy was doing. How about if I'm at home and I just want to sort of, do as best I can?
Well, let's say, for instance, the bench press, you don't want to do that. You want to do dumbbells instead. You go to the list of exercises, and you click on a body part, the chest. That was a chest exercise, as you saw before in the exercise.
So what else can I do to work on the chest area?
Well, you can take, for instance, we had push-ups in the thing, but you can actually take dumbbell fly, small dumbbells instead, and drag that to your program. And then you'll click over here and then replace that exercise.
Okay,
and then
so I want to do that one instead. The other one, it has the same value for me.
Correct. The same exercises are worked, same muscles are worked.
So this I could do at home on a bench and just have some dumbbells
Correct.
like that.
That's right. And again, you get 3 different views of the exercises. And we have over 85 minutes of video in here that shows you all these different exercises as to what to do.
All right, Kevin, I got my work cut out for me. Thank you very much. All right, well, when you do exercise, you do want to make sure you push yourself, but you don't want to push yourself so hard that you hurt yourself. So one important aspect of managing your health is monitoring your body.
In 1995, the International Olympic Committee officially recognized the triathlon as an Olympic sport. For triathletes like Eric Haar, the IOC stamp of approval means recognition, status, and a chance at Olympic gold in the year 2000. The triathlon is a grueling trio of running, swimming, and cycling. To achieve the required endurance and strength, Eric maintains an intensive training schedule, 4 to 8 hours a day, every day. Just as important, he needs to keep training at a certain level, enough to improve without going too far.
We tend to overtrain. Triathletes are always broken down, and so the key to not overtraining or undertraining is using a heart rate monitor. It is the only way to accurately assess your intensity level during exercise, so that I don't overtrain or undertrain because I set a heart rate with my polar heart rate monitor and it beeps when I'm exercising too hard and it beeps when I'm not exercising hard enough.
Eric straps a polar heart rate monitor to his chest. A transmitter in the waterproof strap beams his heart rate to a watch-sized receiver on his wrist. After training, he can transfer the data to his computer. The polar monitor comes with software to graph maximum, minimum, and average heart rates. Eric keeps a daily log of his heartbeats, whether he is running, swimming, or asleep.
During exercise, my heart rates are traditionally, if I run up a hill, it's 120. If it's 140 the next day, I know that I'm overdoing it or if I'm getting sick. So my polar heart rate monitor can literally predict whether or not I'm overtraining or getting sick.
For example, Eric has an arsenal of gadgets to help him train, from an indoor cycling simulator called a CompuTrainer to a hyperbaric inflatable bag that surrounds him with oxygen-rich air. His latest recovery device is a coffin-like high-altitude sleep chamber. But whether he is training or sleeping, Eric tries to keep his heart pumping at an ideal rate. It is the best indicator of his athletic performance and health.
If I'm trying to burn body fat, I keep my heart rate between 100 and 130 beats a minute. If I'm trying to gain fitness, I keep it between 130 and 150. There are specific heart rate zones and intensity levels for certain goals. So if someone's trying to lose body fat, to keep their heart rate lower and work out longer. If someone's training for a race, keep it higher, but do it shorter. That's why it's so valuable.
For the Computer Chronicles, I'm Sarah O'Brien.
Well, these days, many people talk about wellness rather than illness and believe that to truly be healthy, you have to take an aggressive, integrated approach to creating good health. One of the advocates of integrated medicine has his own website, and it's called As Dr. Weil. And Scott, you produced that website for Dr. Weil, and we've got it up here. A lot of people see herbal remedies out there and lots of alternative medicine things as opposed to the traditional ways we might deal with the illness or health in Western medicine. What kinds of things can I do on the Dr. Weil site? I see you have, for instance, you did a search on echinacea, and everybody's reading about that. It does something for your immune system. Can I go to the site and say, hey, what does this stuff really do? Is it worth buying?
Sure. What you can do when you come to Ask Dr. Weil right off is you can either read the daily question and answer that's up there, you know, from anything from AIDS to echinacea to St. John's wort, or you can start a search like we've done here, putting in what you're most interested in. So with echinacea, say you're interested in finding out if echinacea is really good at fighting colds. Well, we happen to have answered that question a number of times, as you can imagine, with the popularity of echinacea
so what
these
does
days.
Dr. Weil say? Now, Dr. Weil is a real MD, right?
He is. He's a Harvard Med MD who's been...
A lot of people have seen this guy on TV, and he's got books and all that stuff.
He's got 8 Weeks to Optimum Health is his latest bestseller,
Right,
Spontaneous Healing.
What's his answer to echinacea?
So the answer on echinacea is, yeah, that it works. Here he explains exactly what it is for people that maybe haven't heard of it. It's known as the purple coneflower, a common ornamental flower. He explains that there's been a great deal of research from Germany, especially showing its efficacy in fighting colds and boosting the immune system. It says that the root contains the highest amount of active material. And then he gives his opinion about how to use it and what it's good for. Try to dispel a lot of the myths that are out there whenever there's a popular
So basically
thing.
he says, hey, it's good for you, take some.
He says it's good for you, take some.
Next one, St. John's wort. This is the hot bottle that's on the shelves of her. Is this a sort of Prozac substitute?
Right. Well, a lot of people have asked me, you know, is St. John's wort a form of Prozac? And if anything, you know, Prozac could be said to be a synthetic form of St. John's wort. St. John's wort's been shown to be very good at alleviating mild to moderate depression. Again, these are studies that have been coming out of Germany for years. It's an herb that's been used in European cultures for these kinds of things for centuries. And it's just in the last century that synthetic pharmaceuticals have displaced herbal ones.
So somebody sent in a question there about it, and Dr. Weil says...
And Dr. Weil says that St. John's wort is very popular treatment in Europe for mild to moderate depression. Yeah.
Another question a lot of people have, vitamins. I mean, people down all these multivitamins and pills. Other people say it's a waste of time, you don't need them. What's Dr. Weil say about taking vitamins?
Well, the big thing with Ask Dr. Weil is that we've got hundreds of thousands of people coming to the site every day. We get 1.5 million page views a week.
And we're all different.
Yeah, and everybody wants to know, you know, what's going to be good for me. So what we have here is something called the Vitamin Advisor. And by answering a series of questions, you build a profile of...
Right, and I did that earlier. I went on your website and told Dr. Weil who I was and said, okay, what should I be taking in terms of vitamins?
Exactly. And what you can do is then you answer these questions. Are you male? Are you female? Where do you live? What kind of stresses are you under? And then at the end, you get a personalized profile that explains exactly what you do need to be taking and how often. Vitamin C, 2,000 to 3,000 milligrams, you know, 3 times a day. Vitamin E, a man over 50, you know, saw palmetto, these kinds of things.
And he gave me this whole list of stuff I really ought to be taking every day to ensure my health. All right, now we don't have time, but I know he's got the whole 8-week program, the mental, spiritual aspects of it. So it's an interesting site to go to, drweil.com.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. All right, well, that's our look at how to stay healthy using your computer. Next up, another special preview of one of the new features of Windows 98. And I'll be back in just a moment with my pick of the week.
Have you ever noticed strange things happening when Windows boots up? Dialog boxes that tell you something is missing, or little icons that show up in the tray and you have no idea what they're doing there? Well, in Windows 98, there's a neat tool that helps you troubleshoot Windows startup. Let's take a look at it. It's called the System Configuration Utility. You can select different types of startup, diagnostic or selective startup, which allows you to turn off different files as they load up. Remember the WinAny file? Well, it's right here, and you can edit it simply by clicking on these little boxes. You can select or deselect various things that are loaded in the WinAny file. A Startup tab shows you all the things that the registry loads at Windows Startup. Often you'll find the culprit here for those mysterious things that happen. Most importantly of all, though, is a Create Backup button. You should always do this as the first thing you do whenever you launch this configuration utility. This is powerful stuff for power users, and it's coming in Windows 98. Back to you, Stewart.
Now for my pick of the week. Since we're focusing on health and fitness today, I thought I'd tell you about a fascinating little program that can help you stay healthy mentally and emotionally. This software is probably already on your hard drive. If you have Microsoft Schedule, which comes bundled with many Windows PCs, you already have a program called the 7 Habits Tools. Just open up the Tools menu in Schedule Plus and you'll find a program that will help you get organized. You use the tool to develop a personal mission statement. It makes it easy to do. Just answer a series of leading questions. Once you define your personal mission, you can then examine the various roles you play in life as companion or father, husband, business owner, manager, advisor, or administrator. You can customize these roles to suit your particular situation. You then go to the Goals section and establish goals for each of those roles. You can also work in the Perhaps area to experiment with possible future goals. If you need some advice on what life is really about, the program includes the wise sayings of many philosophers and writers from the past. And if you're not really sure how to proceed, just ask the wizard and you'll be guided through the program, which can really help you get organized personally and professionally. It's an odd little program to be hiding inside Microsoft Schedule, but it's there, and you'll probably find it very interesting and probably healthful. Just click on the Tools button in Microsoft Schedule Plus. That's it for this edition of the Chronicles. We'll be back again next week with more of the latest in hardware, software, and the net. If you need any more information about anything you saw today, please go to our website at cmptv.com. Thanks for joining us, and I hope we'll see you here again next time.
Computer Chronicles is made possible in part by SoftSource Incorporated, publishers of Pro1 software, educational software for young adults. And by Z Auction, the live online shopping experience. Additional funding from PC Connection and Mac Connection, the catalog and online superstore with PC and Mac products, toll-free technical support, and overnight delivery. And by Windows Magazine, delivering desktop, enterprise, and internet computing news, reviews, features, and how-tos for a Windows world, because the world runs on Windows.
To purchase a videotape copy of today's program, call toll-free 1-888-310-7850. Please specify the show number and the topic.
Earlier this year in Boston, the first juvenile charged with computer hacking was arraigned. Whose computer system did he break into? Was it an airport control tower, the Massachusetts State Police, Boston City Hall, or the legal seafood restaurant chain?
The growth of the Internet is in a large part the result of a network standard called TCP/IP. In that phrase, IP stands for Internet Protocol. What does TCP stand for?
It's all coming up next week on the Computer Chronicles.